a dick, now you been served. I like a dick with a little bit of curve. Hit this pussy with an uppercut. Call that nigga Captain Hook. Ayy, I go shopping, want it, then I cop it. Ayy, yeah, bitches popping, I do what they copy. Ayy, look, he's a sweetie, kiss it when he eat it. Ayy, yeah.
What's up? It's me, Lucky V, back with another video. Today I'm about to show y'all step by step how to make a 4x4 lace closure wig. This is Model Mega Brazilian Master Mix hair. I ended up cutting it for a client, but you can use any hair as long as it's a closure. So get comfortable because I'm going to be showing y'all how to customize her as well. So we're going to need a mesh wig cap, some nylon or cotton thread, some wig pins, and a curved needle, a wig head and a tripod, or you can use a table clamp. Some styling scissors, and then my little secret, we're going to use some nail glue, and then you can use white eyeshadow for this marker if you don't have one. Start by centering the cap on the head and then pinning the nape down, making sure that everything is centered. Now you're going to take your closure. I recommend cheaper hair for beginners, but you can definitely use any closure you'd like. Start by pulling the closure slightly further than the cap. This is so that you can have realistic baby hairs. Stretch the closure as far as you can and pin it, but don't force it because you're going to adjust these pins as you continue. We got our 3 pins in the front. Now we're going to pull the closure back a little bit and pin it down in the back. You're going to do the same thing on the other side, and then you're going to pin it down in the middle. If the closure isn't laying flat, adjust it as you see fit and then put everything in a ponytail. Once you wrap it up in a ponytail, you're going to pull some of the hair out of the ponytail just so it can lay down nice and flat. You see I'm adjusting the hair right now a little bit, and then I'm going to be ready to sew. I love pre-threading my needles because it saves so much time. So we're going to go to where the hairline starts underneath the cap and through the closure. Pull it and make sure that the knot touches the cap. Keep holding that string as you sew through the cap and the lace again, pushing upward with the needle. Notice that by holding the string, you're keeping more control over how you sew and you're keeping the thread from tangling. Also, the closer you sew your threads, the flatter the closure will lay. So continue going underneath and pulling the closure downward. Once you get to a certain point, wrap the thread around 3 times and pull to make a tight knot. Now that you've made your first knot, just continue this method on and make knots wherever you feel like you need to until you get to the other side. I'm close to the end now, so I'm about to make a little knot and then I'm going to finish it off with one last knot once I get to the bottom of the closure. Cut at the base of the knot and don't leave any string, and then just put a dab of nail glue. Go to the other side and do the same exact thing so that it can look symmetrical. Now check your closure and make sure it lays flat and there are no gaps. I definitely see a gap right here, so I know that I'm going to sew that up later. Now we're going to sew the longest track around the closure. This hides any hair if you want to do a ponytail or if the wind blows. Don't leave any space between the closure and the track, and pin it to the bottom of the cap and make sure everything is tight so that there are no spaces or gaps. Start by going through the weft and through the cloth of the cap, not the elastic band. If there's any hair that gets in the way, just pull it down. Just like the closure, don't let go of that string, and again, we're going to go through the weft. Make sure that these threads are not far away from each other so that everything can be tight. After my 3rd thread, I made my knot by wrapping the thread around 3 times and pulling it. This secures everything in the beginning so you don't have to worry about nothing. Notice that my threads are all pretty close together because I want everything to be clean and tight. When you thread far apart, it may help you sew faster, but it creates a looser and lumpier look. That's really not good, especially if you want to sell your wigs, because your customers are going to complain about that. So I'm just continuing that same method that I showed you guys, going through the weft and through the cap, keeping my movements close together, not letting that thread go, and then making random knots whenever I see fit. So now that we have the track wrapped around and secure, we're gonna start drawing our lines. So I like to start in the middle at the bottom, and I keep my lines about 1.5 inches apart. There are a couple of different methods that you can use when drawing your lines, but I personally do not rely on lines very heavily. I'm going all the way across with these, so I won't be drawing like separate lines at the top. Everything's going from ear to ear. And I recommend, especially for beginners, to use some form of measuring tape. I couldn't find mine, but I do like to use it when I'm doing my lines. So for the first 2 tracks, I'm not going to double them because I want to show you guys both methods. You're going to start by pinning one side of the track to one end of the line and then tightly pulling the other side and pinning that as well. Just like earlier, you're going to go through the track and through the cap. Try not to go through the elastic band. Pull the thread through and grab onto that thread really tight. Keeping your movements close, you're going to go through the weft and through the cap again and then pull again. And if any hair gets in the way, just simply pull it out of the way and continue on with this method. Now, you can just as easily go underneath the weft. I'm not against going underneath the weft. Just for this particular unit, I decided to go through the weft for a flatter look. So I didn't show me cutting and putting the nail glue on there because it's the same way that I do all the other ones. I'm going to do one more single and then I'm doubling them until I get to the top. And just a side note, a lot of people ask me, how do I get a flat look? The pins are what make it flat. The tighter you do the pins, the flatter the look. Again, we're going through the weft and then we're going to hold on to that thread and then continue on through the weft and through the cap. This method is super beginner friendly because it allows you to have control over the thread while also sewing quick. Now we are going to double the wefts, and all you do is the same method as before, but then you flip it over and then pin it that way. I like to use more pins when I double the wefts because you want the wefts to be aligned perfectly. Put the needle through the fold of the weft and through the cap, and then once you do that, grab onto the needle and then go through both of the wefts and pull. After about 3 threads, you're going to make your knot by wrapping it around 3 times and then pulling. Continue this method with the double wefts until you get to the top of the head. Once you get there, we're going to start singling them so that it can look flat at the top. So now we're at the top, we're going to lay the last few tracks. Notice that I'm using more pins when I do this, but I'm using the same exact method of going through the weft and through the cap. The key is to not place the tracks directly on top of each other. This way, none of the hair will be bulky near the closure. Now we're on the second to last track, and I actually ended up doubling the wefts because the last one will be single. So you're going to sew this using the same method that I showed you in the beginning of the video, and then you're going to put the last track on there. This is the last track. Notice that it's a lot thinner because it is a single track and it's not directly on top of the closure. So you're just going to sew it as close to the closure as possible and then continue to make those knots. And when you're done, just cut it and put the nail glue on each side. Now, I really love this because you can put your hair up without the fear of any track showing. So guys, I didn't do a really detailed customization of this, but if you guys want a detailed customization, please comment and like below. So I just use nail glue to glue the clips on. That just makes any wig look official. To sew the band on, I just marked off what side I wanted each end to be on, and then I just started sewing from underneath the band and underneath the cap. So I made 4 different parts when I was plucking this wig. I started at the hairline and just took a little bit out on each side, making sure I was never plucking one side twice. And that just made it look a little bit more natural. Then I made one part and started plucking. I made sure the part wasn't super duper big either. So as you can see, I'm just continuing to make those small parts and then plucking those, and don't over pluck. Like if you see it balded a little bit too much, just stop. Now it's time to lay it. I just made a nice little middle part. You could also do a side part if you'd like, and I just combed down the baby hairs. Then from there, I sprayed some Gotta Be Glued on there and started to lay it with the hot comb. Don't sit the hot comb on the hair too long because it's gonna start turning white. That means that it's burning. I just continue combing until the Gotta Be Glued dried, and then I combed the other side to make it look symmetrical, and that was pretty much it. So here's the finished wig before I cut it. I really like how just flat and natural it looks. It really came out nicely. And if you like this video, don't forget to tag a friend, like and comment, and join the crew. Thank you guys so much for watching.